If you don't want to spend a fortune on a phone but still want a phone that looks great, runs fast, has no bloatware and is reliable in the long term, OnePlus has been the company you go to in the past few years. Now, 4 years after OnePlus started this never settle movement to disrupt mainstream phones, it has brought us the OnePlus 6. Its newest, most beautiful and well-refined design ever. Yes, it has a notch, but it's also even faster, finally has an improved camera and a few new tricks up its sleeve. Hello guys, my name is Vic Christoph with PhoneArena and this is our review of the OnePlus 6. The OnePlus 6 is a big new step for the company in terms of design. While it keeps nearly the same size as the 5 and the 5T, it brings a bigger 6.3-inch screen and the back of the phone is now made of glass that is carefully formed in 3 different variants. You have the glossy mirror black edition, the midnight black model with its matte look that has a very cool tactile feel. It almost feels like you're touching the trackpad on a MacBook and it doesn't get stained with fingerprint smudges. And finally you have the limited edition silk white version with a glamorous gold edge and embedded crushed pearls in one of the 5 glass layers for a more delicate feel. All of these finishes look stylish and OnePlus now prints a design by OnePlus note on the back of the phone to underscore how proud it is of its work. OnePlus also says that it is well aware that it's using glass here, Gorilla Glass 5, and it's tested the phone and found it as durable as earlier metal OnePlus phones. OnePlus also gets the little details right. The physical buttons on the sides are extremely well made and deliver an incredibly satisfying clicking sensation. The signature OnePlus alert slider is also here, but it is now on the right side, where it's much easier to reach. The slider is also simpler now. You have 3 positions, ring, vibrate and silent, and you get a cool little pop-up that tells you which mode you're switching to every time. It's so simple, very handy, and we wish more phones had something similar. On the bottom of the phone you have a USB-C port for charging, a loudspeaker and a headphone jack, so you don't have to deal with adapters if you want to use wired earbuds. On the back of the phone you have the new dual camera system and right below it a fingerprint scanner. OnePlus makes one of the fastest fingerprint scanners and this one is no exception. It unlocks the phone almost instantly and has very accurate and reliable readings. You also have face recognition that is now even faster. Face ID is not as secure as a fingerprint scan, but it's a neat option to have. Finally, while you don't get full waterproofing on the 6, you do get partial water resistance. OnePlus has added water protection to the most vulnerable areas of the phone, so that you don't need to worry about the phone being exposed to rain or about a drop in the sink. But remember that you shouldn't swim with it or keep it underwater for a long time. At the front of the phone, you now have the largest screen ever put on a OnePlus phone. It's a 6.3-inch AMOLED display with a notch. We like what OnePlus has done here. Others like LG, Huawei and Essential have both a notch and a big chin bezel on the bottom. The OnePlus has a notch, but its so-called chin is very tiny and the design looks much better for it. It really feels like an all-screen edge-to-edge phone. As to the notch, you can hide it or you can embrace it. We didn't feel the need to hide it as you get that extra screen space and you can also customize the icons that are shown to the sides of the notch for a better look. Then the screen resolution, it's still Full HD but we don't mind, it still looks perfectly sharp unless you really stare up close at the phone. The screen also has very nice colors. By default it is set to show very punchy, oversaturated colors that impress but also feel a bit unreal and outworldly. If you want more toned down colors, you can go into display settings and switch to the sRGB or DCI-P3 color modes that have a more balanced look that is still very accurate to color standards. Okay, enough about the appearance of the OnePlus 6, let's look at what actually makes this phone tick. Under the hood here is Qualcomm's latest and most powerful Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 system chip. The 845 is a big improvement over earlier generation Qualcomm chips, bringing up to 30% faster performance, while power consumption is up to 10% lower. And yes, this is indeed a very fast phone, almost as fast as the Google Pixel. Helping with that is OnePlus's Oxygen OS interface, a clean interface based on Android Oreo and featuring some 200 under the hood speed improvements. All of this results in apps loading very quickly, animations running fast and everything moving free of stutter. Apart from the speedy performance, probably the biggest new feature here though are the new gesture controls. While the default option on the OnePlus 6 remains on-screen buttons for navigation, you can switch to a brand new gesture navigation in settings. So how do you navigate with gestures on the OnePlus 6? A swipe from the bottom edge up brings you back to the home screen. Swipe and hold for a second and you will see the recent app cards. Finally, swipe from the left or right edge up to go back. It all sounds easy, but in reality, the more I use these gestures, the more frustrated I get with them. The swipe up to go home one works fine, but when you use the back gesture where you swipe from the edge, it's often in the same spot as buttons on many apps. For example, I more than a few times accidentally tapped the Facebook share button instead of going back, which I found to be incredibly frustrating. The multitasking shortcut is also very slow and the experience is a bit frustrating, and overall gestures are one of my biggest pain points here. Hopefully OnePlus listens and improves this in a future software update. Another useful option in Oxygen OS is the improved gaming mode, where the phone makes sure your gaming session is not interrupted by nagging notifications, but also it disables background processes to ensure you get the best frame rates and the best network speeds for more competitive gaming. Other familiar staples of Oxygen OS are still here: night mode that filters out blue light, reading mode that turns your screen grayscale like on a Kindle and makes it easier on the eyes, and so on. Now, in terms of storage, you get three different options: a 64GB version, a 128GB and a 256GB models. None of them has a micro SD card slot, so it might be a good idea to spend a little more to get more storage and have a peace of mind that you will not run out of storage in the long run. The OnePlus 6 is also equipped with the fastest LTE modem ever used in the series. It features gigabit LTE speed support, nearly twice as fast as the OnePlus 5. It gets great reception, and we have seen reports that it's able to maintain high download speeds in areas where other phones struggle. The 6 is also equipped with a ton of 4G LTE bands, but unfortunately there is still no full CDMA support, so the phone will not be compatible with Verizon Wireless and Sprint in the US. While OnePlus phones have always had an impressively fast performance, the camera on the OnePlus series was never quite on par with the best camera phones out there. That's why we were curious when OnePlus said that the cameras on the 6 are improved and better. You get a dual camera setup on the back with a 16-megapixel main camera with OIS and a 19% larger sensor, as well as a secondary 20-megapixel camera, but this one is not a telephoto lens, has the same focal distance as the main camera, so it seems to only be used for the depth effect for portraits. Enough with the specs though, let's take a look at the actual photos. How do they look? Well, quite good actually. We feel like the OnePlus 6 has the best camera that OnePlus has ever made. It has well balanced, likable colors, good control over dynamic range with no burned highlights, gets plenty of detail, and is overall a solid performer. At night, the 6 also captures good looking photos. Surprisingly, it handled neon signs on par with the Pixel 2 XL in our few tests, and while it doesn't quite have the Pixel's dynamic range reach, it is a good performer in low light. You also get a portrait mode here, and it comes with plentiful detail and nice separation of the subject from the background. In terms of video, there are two new things: 4K 60 and 480 FPS slow motion. Both features are great to have. 4K 60 is so much smoother, and you should definitely consider it if you shoot action shots. And then the new slow motion might not be quite as super slow as on Samsung's and Sony's, but we find it much more useful. You can record a lot more footage, and you don't need to press that button in the very exact moment of the action. You can select the part you want to slow down later on in the video editor. Easy. Speaking of editing, the built-in video editor allows you to trim 4K videos and to add filters to them, which is one more nice bonus feature. Turning to sound quality, you have a single button-firing loudspeaker on the OnePlus 6, and it's okay. Just okay. When you compare it with dual speaker systems on other 2018 flagship phones, you can see that it's not quite on par, as it doesn't have quite the punch and the definition. When it comes to call quality though, we have had no issues with the OnePlus 6. Voices in the earpiece are loud and clear, and the same is true for callers on the other end of the line, who will not have any problems recognizing your voice. Just like on the OnePlus 5 series, you get the same size 3300 mAh battery on the new OnePlus 6. After using the OnePlus 5 and 5T for quite a while, we can confidently say that the battery life on those phones was one of their strongest features. Luckily, the 6 builds up on that solid foundation and is another OnePlus phone with excellent battery life. We got an average of around 5 hours of screen on time, enough for even those longer days, and when you're not using your phone that much, we can even get 2 days on a single charge here. And then there is Dash Charge. The slogan for this fast charging technology by OnePlus is "a day's power in half an hour," and it describes it perfectly. We are, however, a bit disappointed that the OnePlus 6 does not support wireless charging as other glass phones. Okay, let's draw the line and look at prices. OnePlus has been slowly increasing prices for its phones, and the new OnePlus 6 is the most expensive phone the company has ever made. But here's the thing. The other, more established phone makers have hiked their pricing even further. So the common 2018 flagship now costs more than $800. Compared to all those phones, the OnePlus 6 still looks like an amazing bargain. Just look at the price difference between the OnePlus 6 and the other flagship phones. Summing it all up, OnePlus has done it once again with the OnePlus 6. What do we mean? Well, simple. This phone continues refining a successful formula by bringing a flagship-grade phone with a focus on a clean interface and speed at a very alluring price point. The 6 is also the company's best design effort and brings an improved camera, the familiar loved features like Dash Charge and more. It's not quite the perfect phone. The one thing that we really wish OnePlus did better was the gesture navigation, which now feels clunky. We're also disappointed that there is no wireless charging on the OnePlus 6. Those few complaints, however, are nothing but the proverbial fly in the ointment. And at the end of the day, the OnePlus 6 is a phone that feels fast and that you enjoy using day in and day out. And the reasonable price? Well, that's just the icing on the cake. And this wraps our review of the new OnePlus 6. Hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed watching this video, subscribe to our channel for more videos, and I will see you in the next one.